Thank you, and thank you for your time and for this opportunity for the session today. I am Ujwal Kumar. I am Microsoft Technology Senior Architect based in Singapore. In my current role, I work with customers and partners to understand their business problems and then create actionable outcomes, which includes proof of concept development as well. And I'm happy to also mention that I'm one of the alumni of NUS ISS team, so which is great opportunity to come back for this session. So today I'm going to be covering mainly about Microsoft and Azure Quantum. I'll also present in the next hour about industry use cases and then resources. As we go along the session, please feel free to put your questions in the chat window, and I will take up those questions as we go along during the session itself. And we will also have some sessions questions towards the end as well. But I would really request as we go along, great to have your questions in the chat, and I will be getting those questions through the chat window. And while we go along for the session today, I really wanted to talk about quantum has a huge potential to redefine, how we think about computing for our toughest of challenges, and especially in the computing aspects. I'll talk about Microsoft approach, how we are architecting and building quantum systems to scale to the required size and realize the full potential of quantum computing. And lastly, what I'm going to be doing is, help you get started with the experience of quantum impact today. So some resources around it, and we go along, right? So let me first highlight about why we are talking about quantum and why we care about quantum so far, right? Like despite all the advances we have made in the compute and the power of like cloud computing and so on we have today, there are challenges which we still can't solve, right? Problems that are top of mind, not only because of the issues which we face, some of these big challenging issues like climate change or optimizing our natural resources or evolving our mode of transportation in ever-growing gridlock environment or population which is also growing across the globe. Quantum computing is the thing that lots of scientists and technologists are looking to help us solve these kind of problems, right? Which because of its ability to solve such scenarios and problems at an exponentially faster rate. That's because it's truly a different way to compute, right? Quantum computing is a language of nature. It's how atoms and molecules work with the capability. For example, we could imagine being able to compound that, create a compound that can take carbon out of air or design materials that would superconduct at room temperature, advancements that could help us mitigate global warming, right? So quantum is redefining the meaning of the computing and to address planet scale challenges, right? So at Microsoft, we are building some of these tools and capabilities and to go after challenges, right? And we have decades of work to deeply understand these some of these algorithms and be able to apply and develop to enable programmers and scientists across the globe to be able to take advantage. We need, and for such scenarios, we also need quantum hardware, and we also need to stay to have the quantum capability, which could have quantum state long enough to get through these interesting applications as well. So therefore, we require some of the scenarios. For example, I'll be talking about qubits, which we are developing, and there are different ways to be developing it around. So we are kind of working towards it, and we are working towards how these could be used to, as I was mentioning, solve some of these tougher challenges. What we are bringing together is an open ecosystem, which is Azure Quantum, and we are not only putting Microsoft technology at your fingertips, but a community of quantum hardware and solution providers as well. And some of these we are going to be covering today as we go along to give you the perspective about these, right? So let me move to an interesting aspect about why quantum is so exciting, right? Which is very, very interesting to look at, because when we talk about quantum, it can help us address the problems which I was kind of mentioning before. Even with the continued improvement in the classical computing performances, moving to exascale computing and beyond could help. There are some of the challenges. The shape of these curves remains the same, and even it shifts down. So essentially, what we are looking at is we can leverage the power of quantum, and we can have a chance to fundamentally change that curve, this specific curve around, to bring it to, let's say, to polynomial time, right? Because quantum computer operates on a different design principle than the classical computer, and natively speak the same language as nature, which is very much aligned towards quantum mechanics. They will be able to mimic some of the reactions, some of the designs, some of the processes of nature, and calculate some of these complex equations, accurately, predicting catalyst properties through quantum simulation in a matter of weeks, maybe days or hours. So effectively, we are looking at offering to build and offer a path for us forward through which we can address planet scale challenges. And, and this is the true, not only for chemistry, but also for material science, factoring, and other large scale compute problems. So what makes quantum computing so different, right? Let me run through a very quick introductory view on the building blocks of quantum computing. So let me start with a very first example of this, right? To do this, right, I find it helpful to draw parallels to a classical computing scenario, right? If you are here to pop up devices, as I was just showing in the previous picture, you are sitting in front and looking at various transistors. Now, these transistors are tiny switches that can be turned on and off just like a light switch, as you could see, right? And they can support one state at a time. It could be either on or off. And if we map these ons and offs to ones and zeros, we are basically looking at a standard quantum, standard classical compute scenario. Now, the more transformation and compute power we need, the more ones and zeros is what we would need continuously, and therefore more transistors we need, right? Which is why today we strive to fit more and more transistors on a single chip without increasing the size. We have gone from computing comprising 13,000 transistors the size of a room in the 60s to gaming consoles like Xbox, which actually have more than 5 billion transistors, which is huge, right? So this going further, now I'm going to jump into the very basic unit, the fundamental unit or building block of quantum computing, which is a qubit. On the other hand, qubit can be one state or more at once, which means that we could, have a 0 or a 1 or both of them simultaneously, right? That could that's what we call superposition. And you can imagine this as a dimmer light, as you could see here on the picture. It's very interesting that we actually have multiple of these states simultaneously at any given point of time. Now, to understand why this is so powerful, let's go back to the classical picture, right? And here we have 4 bits, which is 2 to the power 4, 16 combinations, right? Now, this register can only be in one of these combinations at any given point of time, right? At once. So it could be like, as you could see, 1010 or so on. But here, let me try to talk through this about with the quantum register. So here is a quantum register of 4 qubits. Now, because each bit can be programmed to be in a superposition state of 0 and 1, we can encode the classical information in this register as a linear superposition of 16 of all the combinations, right? And compute on them in this superposition. So it's exponentially growing, right? It's huge, as you could imagine. Have that level of parallel, we would need transistors to represent the state of all the 16 combinations of 4 bits, right? But because the quantum computer is exponentially more powerful, we only need these 4 qubits on the right hand side, as you could see. And it continues on this course. Every time we add a qubit, we double the amount of information we can encode. And this, at this extent, right, this is inherent nature of the qubits, right, that gives us the opportunity of massively speed up in computation. So let's put some context to around the scaling and the exponential aspect, right? With quantum computing, we achieve an exponential increase in compute power. We obtained double the power with each additional qubit, right? And say we want to simulate the quantum computer on our classical computer, right? So simulating a 30 qubit requires about 16 GB of classical memory, and simulating 40 qubit requires 10 times more, not only 10 times more, 1,000 times more, but even more, right? It's 16 TB. So 14 qubit requires 16 terabyte of classical memory, which is huge. Additionally, at additional qubit means doubling the classical memory and more, right? So 230 qubit, for example, essentially would require 10 or 80 bytes, which is larger than the number of particles in the visible universe, right? So 230 qubit is almost like entire universe which we could see. So simulating one operation on the quantum state requires longer than lifetime of our universe, right? It's huge. So, but there's some catch, right? And some of the catch that makes quantum algorithm difficult to find. We only get to read out one answer at the end, while unlike in a parallel classical answer, right? And second one, when we need to come up with a clever algorithm, we basically for a quantum using the principles of superposition and quantum interference, which are the basic pillars of the quantum mechanics and the quantum computing, right? So finding those kind of algorithms, in fact, there are very limited list of those algorithms kind of available. It's an area of active research where scientists are working towards it. So let's look at what kind of problem we really are going to be solving, right? Quantum essentially won't be solving or it won't be good at solving all hard computational problems. We need to develop algorithms that leverage quantum events like superposition, as I was mentioning before, and quantum interference, right? Just as one of the questions, which I've been listening to from a lot of our attendees and customers in the past, they have been talking about that. How many of these algorithms are really available, right? It's a quite interesting question, and I'll be talking through that. We have a good collection, and one of our Microsoft principal researcher has kind of created a website which kind of lists some of the top algorithms which are available and then active area of research, right? So what from Microsoft side, we are building the capabilities to solve the world's complex problem, right? Most complex problems by developing the most scalable and impactful quantum system and community, right? So quantum computing, again, promises to disrupt complex challenges across 4 key areas, right? As you could see here, I've presented cryptography, optimization, the simulation of quantum systems, and potentially machine learning. Right, there are different areas and applications again from this as a broad category, right? And we would be going through some of these today. So as we look up on these areas, right, and the amount of disruption that can come in proposition to the amount of data required to solve this problem is huge, and that's because quantum computer, are great at computing, but they aren't great at reading and writing a large amount of data yet, right? So let me bring this with some example, right? In cryptography, we often use RSA, right? And breaking RSA requires a large number of, a large number, basically taking a large number and then identifying 2 prime numbers that are multiplied to get that number, right? Now, to get the input data is that one large number, and the output is just one smaller prime number, right? But the compute required is huge, it's large, right? So we can sieve through many instances to find that right factor, and quantum computer does this very, very well, right? By solving problems in cryptography, is not yet yielding commercial value, but definitely looking at some of those areas where we could really build some of those things which are being actively used today to solve some of those challenges, right? So example, in contrast, right, most machine learning methods requires lots of data and models that are now in millions to billions of parameters, right? Now this is huge, this is large, right? And it will take incredibly large quantum computer to show a commercial value in machine learning. While machine learning is promising, again, it will likely yield large value later than the other application areas which are available today. So we believe the sweet spot for quantum computers is, outperforming classical solutions and achieve practical and commercial value, right? Which is more towards optimization at this stage and simulation of physical systems, and in addition to that, we can take some of the quantum mechanics techniques we learn from quantum algorithms and emulate them on a classical hardware by enabling to achieve some speed ups which is required today, right? So we call these quantum inspired methods. And to empower, basically empower our customers and partners with the power of quantum computing, we need 2 things, right? One is the services solutions at our fingertips, and the other one is about a quantum computer that can scale, to millions of qubits and beyond, right? Which is huge. So what we are working from a Microsoft perspective is a topological quantum system, which is co-developed and co-designed, under across the hardware and software components. Again, it's an area of research, which is not available yet. However, having said that, I will walk through what is available today and what is going to be provided at given point of time, right? So at this point of time, I'll quickly pause and take a question or two. If you have any, please feel free to put in the chat. I do see that there are two questions as of now. One is, how is quantum principles and quantum hardware applied to Azure Cloud? And second is the computation speed 2 to the power x or x being qubits? It's 2 to the power n, and yes, 2 to the power x being qubits, and it's exponential. So essentially, that's the answer. But at the same point of time, the first one I'll walk through as we go along, right? So I'll be answering questions around the quantum hardware and how it is available to Azure Cloud. So let me walk through this, but please feel free to ask questions, put in the chat as we go along. And I will take some of these questions as we go along and some towards the end as well. So let me walk through this, like what we are doing at Microsoft, right? There are twofold, in fact, threefold horizons, and I'm going to be putting that in the next slide as we go along, but let me very quickly identify. So I talked about qubits and I talked about building blocks, but qubits aren't the only element, right, that is required to reach the level of scale that is required to impact some of the key challenges and problems which I was mentioning. So solving these planet scale problems require to build and scale entire quantum stack, right, from quantum hardware to classical control systems to programming models and frameworks to applications and services and solutions. Now there are advantages and to developing all these layers in a stack in parallel. You know, as I was mentioning in the beginning, our depth of understanding in algorithm and application is deeply informing the hardware that we are building, right? The important thing to note here is though that the fragile nature of qubits, right? The basic unit of information in quantum computing, as I was mentioning, qubit, is well known as one of the most significant hurdles in producing a scalable system. Even the slightest interference can cause the qubits to decohere and collapse. And you know, this is a big challenge in the area. And Microsoft is addressing this fundamental challenge, right? The fragile nature of qubit itself by working on topological qubit. Now, as I was mentioning before, a qubit can be generated through different ways, you know, and we can reach to a quantum state through different scenarios. While we are working on topological qubit, we are also partnering with industry vendors and quantum computing partners and developers who have developed hardware based on different methods like topology, ion trapped and superconducting qubit methodology, right? So we also partner with them, and I'll be explaining that in a bit as well. So topological, you know, just to give you a quick perspective about where we are, you know, we are actually looking at topological production in our qubits, which intrinsically, you know, protects the qubits from many sources of errors, right? That means that the qubits can stay in the quantum state as much as longer and enabling us to do quantum computations before we lose the information, right? And this protection reduces our need for kind of error correction, and thus enables to reduce the size of the logical qubit, which is required, and you know, to enable scaling to huge amount of like qubits required for commercial applications, right? And that's where we are looking at the scaled quantum computing from Microsoft side. But again, it's an area of research. So let me very quickly walk through and answer the question about Azure Quantum as well, what principles we are applying and kind of what is available. So, and I'm going to be taking a quick time check as well. So Here, I wanted to very quickly highlight about Azure Quantum, right? It's basically available through the portal to the journey of quantum scale, right? So today we have Horizon 1. We offer two paths. One is around optimization and quantum computation in Azure. Right, and especially when we talk about optimization, it includes access to accelerated solutions, powered by quantum inspired algorithms, and running on optimized classical hardware as well. So as some of our customers, early access adopters and program members have used this capability in the industry today, and I'll be showcasing some of those industry use cases as well. Right now, quantum computation also includes, from Microsoft side, a quantum development kit and a programming language called Q#, which are to run some of these programs in both either simulation or on our third-party quantum hardware. Right, a key focus of these path is developing a growing community and the workforce for scaled quantum future. Now, in Horizon 2, when we expand, we are looking at a path of, where we are expanding our optimization path to include solutions to target future quantum accelerated workloads, right? These solutions would still be quantum inspired, running on optimized classical hardware, as well as some of our vendor provided, third party partner provided physical quantum hardware. But it will be enabled with some of these inspired quantum inspired solvers, optimization solvers, which is going to be available to you already. And in the phase 3, we are looking at unlocking solutions in optimization, especially targeting chemistry, material sciences, and hybrid classical quantum solutions. So at Microsoft, we are working on some of these unique opportunities, as I was mentioning before. Let me quickly also explain why Azure Quantum kind of scenario, right? Why Azure Platform and why Azure Quantum. So there are many core motivations from the inception of this project to building an ecosystem where all parties benefit, right? And from the customer perspective, what we are offering is a unified access to the latest hardware technologies, as I was mentioning, trapped ion and superconducting based qubit-based quantum computing hardware, as well as classical hardware which could simulate quantum computing states. Right. So there are three different options which are available today, and I think it is easy to take this for granted today, right? When we are looking at traditional silicon, for most part, when I write program, it can be running on Intel, AMD, or ARM variants, right? Raspberry Pi and so on. But it takes decades to get to that place, especially in case of quantum, right? And what Azure Quantum is providing is that we are bringing that level of abstraction that would simply nobody, hopefully in some point of time, organizations will be able to provide, but as of now, nobody is able to provide, right? So for the partners, what we are also offering is a platform that you can focus on unique innovation, right? So I think what is interesting is that we are building our own solutions on top of this platform, right? That helps us build better service. And we are really building and working on an ecosystem that thrives, that is easy and benefit to all partners, right? So finally, we have a community of developers. Now, what we are offering is a full open source environment that is composed of both Q# language and a large set of libraries that are augmented by the community for the community, right? So it's an open ecosystem, as I was mentioning before. Let me also try to quickly jump through what we are providing, as I was highlighting and alluding to from a hardware perspective, right? So, and from Azure Quantum today, we essentially already enable to learn and deploy impactful solutions at scale, and you can harness some of these quantum computing benefits to a larger extent. So through Azure Quantum, we gain access to diverse quantum resources through our partnering with industry leaders and from Microsoft side. So including optimization and the quantum hardware solutions, as you could see on the slide, for developers and customers from all different types of industry. So I'm going to be switching to one more slide, and if you have any questions, I think there are, please feel free to put through, scenarios, and we definitely would love to take those questions. Right. So please put your questions on the chat, and I'll take it up in after next two slides before we jump to the use cases. So here, I really wanted to highlight about our SDK, right? With our SDK, which is Quantum Development Kit, we are really kind of aiming to reduce the time it takes for developers and researchers to actually build something, productive. And for instance, like you create a representation of your optimization problem, and you will be able to reuse it for all the solvers, right? So both Microsoft ones and the ones which our partners are providing as well. You can actually decide to run the same problem against solvers running on a CPU or a GPU or a FPGA based systems, right? To test out. Honestly, it's an interesting scenario to have, because that allows us to kind of test it, it's not so easy to do that in the past, right? It's the same concept which you apply to quantum computing as well. So this is a whole notion of writing the code once and then running and comparing it on multiple targets, right? For example, you could test it on topological, not right now on topological, but let's say on superconducting based quantum hardware, and then also on an ion trap hardware, and see kind of results as well. So there's this whole interesting part of writing code once and running into multiple targets, or it could be on a simulated environment on a physical classical hardware as well, right? So it's very, very interesting. When I look at what others are doing, it's like when I was writing kind of assembly code, it's huge, right? But at the same point of time, it's quite challenging, right? So and what we are kind of looking at is a high level language, essentially, which is custom developed for the quantum scenarios, and can kind of help you build those applications and solutions with the solvers, and which you are possibly developing as well. Plus, you could leverage some of the libraries which are pre-developed, and which are also partners provided, right? So our ecosystem partners are also providing. Now, I am going to be mentioning very quickly about Q-Sharp as well, and in the interest of time, then I'll talk about some of our partner system. And I think I've seen one question. Please feel free to put more questions as we go along. I'll happy to take more of them. So Q-Sharp, essentially this programming language was specifically designed for developing quantum applications, targeting quantum computers, as well as simulation environment on physical classical computers as well. Now, the nature of quantum computer is built directly, into the language. So it is with the additional set of libraries which are available, and high-level functionality specific to quantum applications. So, for example, qubits in Q-Sharp is a data type, right? And quantum concepts like superposition, entanglement, measurement can all be modeled through implicit side effects, right? So you can think of Q-Sharp programs as classical programs that can send quantum instructions to a quantum device, where the quantum device is an accelerator for your classical workload. So having having been designed specifically with quantum execution in mind, and workflow in mind, QSharp enables automation as well. So for many of our classical tasks needed to make a good, quantum computer, for example. So as an example, let me mention this, that if you would be kind of inverting sequences of instructions, a common occurrence required in a quantum algorithm, QSharp has the built-in within functionality, right, to automate this with a set of classical instructions. So you can focus on developing your algorithm, right? So these are some of the key aspect, interesting intrinsic, built-in intrinsic aspects which you could leverage. Now, these design choice enables you to create applications that are optimized for execution on quantum hardware, and also by abstracting away many of the manual tasks that are required to go from classical program to quantum program. So essentially, these are some of the built-in and again, the interesting aspect is that, as you could see on the slide, it is available through some of the tools which are open source completely, like Visual Studio Code, Jupyter Notebook, and so on. And we also recognize that some of these represents an investment for developers, right? So the same way there is a learning curve to learn, develop services in the cloud or develop for machine learning. So that's why what we are doing is we are building bridges with Python interoperability as well, right? So providing an expanding set of libraries, and that all is, all that work is open source as well. So you could see that in the library, and I'm going to be sharing some of those resources, towards the end, where I've already shared the slide, which will be with the resources and links. And we are also kind of looking at offering a full package from Microsoft's perspective, that we are having a rich integration with IDEs, integrated development environments, and Jupyter Notebook, so you could run all your code on an idealized simulator, right, or on your laptop, or you could use the resource estimator to reduce your costs, or then take that same code and deploy it on ion trap machine provided by, let's say, Honeywell, or IonQ, or through a superconducting based machine, which is provided today with our partner QCI. And then we also partner with a lot of other vendors like 1QBit and so on. So let me go ahead and share that with you, right? This is the key, right? That we are not doing this alone. We have a level of impact that the world needs from quantum computing ecosystem, and we need an active community of developers as well, right? A global workforce and a vibrant ecosystem, especially in Singapore, we have that. So we are also looking forward to kind of working here closely. Now, when we are looking at what we have available today, right, we are working together with partners like 1QBit, Honeywell, IonQ, QCI, Toshiba, and we are assembling most of these diverse selection of quantum solutions, softwares and hardware across industry, which will bring about a real quantum impact, right? And this is what I'm going to be walking through in the next part of this talk as we go along. So as a result of these quantum software engineering development and algorithm design, opportunities will definitely continue to grow. So today, our quantum network ecosystem spans from hardware providers, software solution providers, to customers and universities, representing comprehensive engine of innovation. So there is definitely a vibrant developer community, as it fuels for the engine that will help us realize our collective vision of scaled quantum computing. So I would like to quickly take questions if there are any, and then we jump to the industry use cases where we have seen some applications and where we have been working. What I see, one question was, do you partner like local CQT or NUS or global partners like IDQ, Quintessential Labs? Yes, we do partner with both. In fact, there is one of the Singapore partner organization with whom we are already, they are already part of our quantum network. And there is option for definitely organizations to actually put their interest, right? And there is a process through which we kind of prioritize some of those scenarios of partnership, especially where we see the opportunities of working very closely on current areas. So there is a process, and I'll be sharing a resource later as well, where you could see there's a Microsoft Quantum network, which people could or organizations could register for as an interest, and then it's evaluated based on the priorities which we have kind of looked into, and then work together. But at the same point of time, I'm based in Singapore. If you have like further interest, feel free to reach out, and we can see how we can take it further with our product team. I don't see any further questions as of now, so let me quickly jump into the industry use cases, right? And they are huge. There are many of them. In fact, some of the interesting ones which we could potentially look upon, in fact, thought through was around nitrogen fixation, so which is about efficiently producing fertilizers, right? It could be carbon capture to more efficiently extract waste carbon. It could be around room temperature superconductivity. Now, maglev trains and lossless power transmission could be some of those examples. It could be around machine learning to produce better models and models more quickly as well. So there are some of these very interesting areas which people, potential initial applications people have thought through across the globe when they think about applications with quantum computing. Now, there are some of these interesting areas which we definitely can look into, but then there are certain amount of challenges and problems we think quantum computers will have advantage, right? And what I'm presenting here is a list of as I was mentioning before, more than 50 quantum algorithms, which with quantum speed up that are kind of known and listed at this quantum algorithm zoo.org. It's maintained by Stephen Jordan. He's one of our Microsoft principal researcher working on the quantum computing area. What we have observed, over the last few years is that many customers who come to quantum, look for disruptive solutions to some of their biggest computational challenges. And they believe that it cannot be solved classically. But these problems are not suited for quantum acceleration. But what we have found that typically at least half of these problems are good fit for, or a great fit for, high performance computing clusters, right? However, the customers often does not realize that, and hence they does not ask for high performance computing, which we also have at Microsoft. So for audiences today, right, if you are who are coming from a high performance compute scenario, there is definitely an opportunity for us to discuss and triage rather than turning away scenarios like high performance compute. We can actually view quantum plus HPC plus AI as a possible portfolio of solutions, right, that can attract and solve not only quantum specific problems and scenarios, but also a lot of solutions in together, right, in actuality. So let me try to move next and go through some of these interesting areas of quantum computing and some of the scenarios where we have been working. So one of the, I think I do see one quick question which I can take quickly is around any interoperability issue when code using quantum systems, using different quantum systems, one that is built on superconducting bits, while another one on quantum ion, like trapped ions, right? Sorry. That is a very interesting question. But the good thing about this is that how Q-Sharp has been developed, right? So if you're programming, yes, there is definitely interoperability issue if you are kind of choosing different languages. But the way Q-Sharp and Quantum Development Kit has been designed is hardware agnostic, right? So that is the one of the key advantage of kind of leveraging Q-Sharp and Quantum Development Kit provided by Microsoft, right? Where you could develop applications as a hardware agnostic and then put them to test to different types of hardware and get to see the results and how they operate and give you an output, right? So it's an interesting use case and scenario. Today, I'm not delving deeper into Q-Sharp and Quantum Development Kit, but if there are interest, please do raise, and I'm happy to take it up in future in any other session. So thanks again for asking these questions, and what I'm going to be doing is please feel free to put these questions continuously, and we will definitely continue to take it up and answer these questions as well. Now, I'm going to be jumping quickly to this interesting area of applications where we have seen some use cases and where we are working together, right? So one of the key area is around cryptography and security. And as I took an example of RSA in the few minutes back when I was talking about different areas. Now, one of the interesting aspect about where we are working, so we are actually working on a post-quantum cryptography solution as well to ensure that the data remains safe once the quantum computer becomes mainstream in years to come, right? And post-quantum cryptography at Microsoft, essentially, as you could see, are in threefold use cases scenario. Number one is algorithms. So we are kind of working on the NIST, National Standard Technologies, right? We are working on those. So we are basically having ongoing work on high performance implementation and crypto analysis. The second one is on protocol. So we are basically, again, making commonly used security protocols like PQ enabled. We are working on those. And then at the same point of time, we are also working on PQC, integrating PQC into a high value, high risk engineering system and processes. So some of these are very interesting areas. And what we have actually done is also published a paper. Microsoft research team working on the cryptography, post-quantum cryptography, has published one of the research papers. There are many of them, but one highlighted on Microsoft Quantum site, which is very interesting to look at for sure. One of the other area, in fact, we have been focusing highly is optimization, and the term optimization is relatively self-explanatory and applies to a large range of problems. Now, at its simplest, when we talk about optimization, it is just the process of selecting the best things from a set of possible options. Now, there are actually many companies which offer domain-specific solutions today, right? And we can define best in many ways. It could be the option which is lowest cost, the quickest runtime, or maybe lowest environmental impact. So to speed things up, we usually just generically refer to this definition as best, or as a cost of, or to be minimized, right? And if you wanted to maximize the cost, instead, for example, if you want to maximize energy output from a solar cell, all we need to do is multiply the cost, by -1 and then minimize it, right? Now, usually, when we say we have an optimization problem, we mean we have pretty complicated one where lots of variables can interact to many ways to influence the final cost. So we call a particular arrangement of variables, the configuration of the problem. And because there are so many possible configuration to choose from, it gets really hard, to identify the best solution, particularly when the problem space is really large. And it can be easy to get stuck in a local optimum, like we can see here in the graph, right? Now, the way the cost varies as a function of these different configurations gives us what we call the cost function, the line on our graph. And essentially, we have been using this in some of these areas. So where Azure Quantum is really unique is that we are offering a marketplace, of solutions. From one service, you are able to select the solution that is best applicable and cost effective to your problem. Secondly, internally at Microsoft, we are also building on 20 plus more years of research in quantum, right? So we have developed very rare expertise on quantum-inspired optimization techniques, and we are also working on. We essentially recognize that it is not one size fit all, right? So what we do is we combine traditional optimization algorithms along with these quantum-inspired techniques. Alongside, we also partner with multiple industry variants. So there are some of these examples. So what I'm going to be illustrating very quickly is this traffic finding, traffic and vehicle routing scenario. So it's about traffic minimization. The aim here is to reduce the congestion, in our road system, in order to reduce the amount of time spent sitting in the traffic. Imagine, that reducing this would also reduce the carbon emission because the vehicles would actually, come to their destination quicker and not be burning fuel or carbon emission as such, right? So the cost to this is, in a various ways we have kind of worked with on this. So what we did last year, we partnered, there are a couple of examples. One of them here I'm kind of presenting as a case study was around traffic optimization, where we partnered with Ford Motor Group, and we developed a prototype to tackle problem of congestion with a road network, as you could see on the left-hand side. So for this sample, we simulated about 5,000 cars, traveling from various locations in Seattle at rush hour on a Friday, right? And I'm actually talking about 2019, not 20. So when I say last year, actually I mean 1 year before the pandemic. And each car, was given 10 different route options possible to choose from. Now, the aim was to, let me try to run this thing through so that you could see this. The aim of this was to minimize the congestion of the network, right? But also to minimize the average compute time, right? For people driving, after all, we really want to reduce the congestion, by sending people some detour, but also saving time as well. So on the left-hand side, what you see is this state of simulation of all the cars that we have chosen for the fastest route. And you could see, on the map, it is incredibly congested, right, as it's available in the picture here. Now, our optimization algorithm started at this point, and and within 26 seconds of running this optimization code, we basically, we were running on a classical hardware. It's in a simulated environment. We were able to optimize, right, and we were able to reduce this simulation with overall congestion level reducing by 73%, and the average compute commute time by 8%. Now, this is of course, a tunable and extensible depending on the scenario, but other related key areas we are currently also building solutions are, like, for example, on this freight, scheduling and logistics, right? So there are very interesting some of these areas. Now, second example, which I wanted to very quickly talk through is this JIS partnership, with Subo and in Toyota Shusho, in fact, in Japan. And again, we were kind of able to tackle this with the quantum-inspired, algorithm. What I quickly, in the interest of time, I wanted to jump through, but there are a few other areas where we have like really worked, and an example of those are like ship loading. There is another very key area where we have been working on is the chemical, pharma, and energy. In this case, we are kind of leveraging simulating nature with the Microsoft Quantum Development Chemistry Library. And this is to unlock potential problems in the chemistry, especially with this Haber-Bosch process, which is about 100 years old, to be able to create artificial fertilizers and be able to improve using computational chemistry methods. Here we have methods called totalization and qubitization, which is available to, it's one of the crucial part of optimization algorithm, which are present and for state preparation techniques, simulating the chemistry scenarios, right? And then there are other areas where we've been working, which is around energy. So this is one of the scenario where we work with Doe. This is actually part of the chemistry and the industrial aspect itself. But here we collaborated with 1QBit to look at problem decomposition solution expressed in Q-sharp. And here the team was able to run computation in Azure with IonQ quantum computer based on trapped ions. And the demonstration was how quantum, Azure Quantum can start to fuel innovation across the quantum stack. So very quickly, I'm jumping into another key area before we are coming to a conclusion for this talk, is around energy. So this is another very key area where we have actually worked interestingly with DEWA, Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. And another area where we have been working is OTI Luminix. So I'm sure you would be using OLED monitors, right? And this is a scenario where we are looking at how to produce this material in a better way. So again, computational chemistry is one of the key areas which we have been working on this. And coming to very interesting use case and scenario, we have been also leveraging quantum machine learning use case scenario with, and one of the use cases with Case Western Reserve University, where we looked upon about creating, a collaboration with Microsoft and Case Western to look at MRI scan and see how we could take lesser time to identify and assist doctors in to find process of like finding cancer using diffusion Monte Carlo method. And this is very, very interesting scenario where we actually use the quantum inspired optimization as well, one of the methods, and then the other method. And in this case, in both the scenarios, we were kind of leveraging with this scenario, we were able to scan, like take the time to 3 times faster in terms of identifying those cancer using the MRI scans, using this methods, right? So Microsoft optimization algorithm helped us to kind of 3 times faster produce the result than a standard way in a classical method. So this is another very, very interesting area. Another area where we have also been working is on finance, and this is the last part where we are I've taken a quick example of Willis Tower Mission, where we are kind of looking at identifying risk modeling scenarios. And here we have we've been working on exploring ways to identify the quantum-inspired algorithms which might assist the firms in the risk management, finance services, and investing, so on. So this is a lot of these areas are coming together, and what I wanted to do is basically provide these resources and link. I'm on time. I know that it's all time, but at the same point of time, if you have any further questions, please feel free to post on the chat or send it across, and I'm glad to take those up. What I also wanted to highlight is that 30th of June, we do have a workshop coming, and I've kind of linked here, which is aka.ms AQDW Azure Quantum Developer Workshop 3. This is going to be presented. It's a 4-hour workshop presented by our quantum development team and some of our partners coming in to talk. It's a 4-hour session. You can register. It's upcoming. And other than that, there are some resources for you to get started and also to join as a community member. Please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to work with you. Thank you so much.